Peter, do you want to introduce our new special
Yes.
guest?
So let's introduce this series and then we'll introduce our guests. So welcome to the 24th episode of Peplink University. We've spent the last 2 years going over products and solutions, Starlink 5G, outbound policies, speed fusion, in control, new products, and we'll continue to do that. But we thought it'd be really fun, and we kind of introduced this last month, where we're going to start telling some stories, and we want to hear from the community and talk about the adventures and passion around Peplink products. And I thought, well, who can we invite for the very first ever customer testimonial story? And I was thinking back to like pre-West Networks almost, right? Like go back, can we get back, a decade or more? And I emailed out to Brian and I said, hey, Brian, could we tell your story? And he reached out and heck yeah, let's do it. And and I love that excitement. And so we're going to tell Brian's story with B3 Solutions, or sorry, B3 Software, and what they do and how they found Peplink and West Networks, and what they used it for and what they're still using it for. And so we get to kind of just real world scenario of how things are deployed. If you have questions, please ask. We will relay that through the Q&A area and potentially answer those. But otherwise, I hope you enjoy the story. And if you want to share your story, please reach out to us. So Brian Schultz with B3 Software, and I think with you is also Michael. He's kind of off camera, but we've got him right.
Yep, Mike Walton, the owner here, off camera as well.
Uh,
It's so wide of a
and,
camera angle here, you can only get me. Sorry. But,
no
yeah,
worries. So why don't you give me a little bit of a background about who B3 is, yeah, who you are, what you do. Just give us a little bit of a background.
Cool. So B3 Solutions is the parent company, I guess, of B3 Software, and we've been around since around 2006, 2007. I've been with the company about 12 or 13 years now, but we are a software consulting company that has gotten into a whole bunch of different areas. We're in about 29 or 30 different industries as far as software design goes. But when I started, we just had, a Best Buy router style network, something that you just get off the shelf at any big box store, your typical Linksys router with a bunch of antennas sticking out of it. And that wasn't really going to work for us long term. So, that's really a quick jump into the networking side of us. But again, B3, we're a software consulting company with now a networking problem that we've thankfully been able to solve over the past decade with Peplink stuff.
With the exception of the project we're going to talk about later, do you have any are you allowed to talk about any cool software projects you've worked on? Like anything? I know I know some stuff, but are there any cool projects that might be notable that you've done? Because I know you have an entire team of people that basically build custom software.
Yeah, that's kind of all that we do. It's hard to describe. What can you build? I'm like, well, what can you think of? We've got some incredibly smart people. We've had over 400 years cumulative experience.
437 years.
There you go.
Experience. We write software, as Brian said. We just got into our 39th industry. 30th industry.
30th,
We're 29, we're in 30. So we write software, law enforcement. We write some cool software that basically looks for patterns in crime and catches bad guys for the police department here. We've written software in medical, like diabetes and studies and different things like that. So if you can think of it, we typically can write it. Is what happens.
That's a great segue into why does a software company need Peplink? If you can remember back, I think it was 11 years ago, a little over a decade ago, you started looking for something better than a Best Buy network. What made you think to do that, or what led you to that journey?
Well, funny enough, we kept having trucks take out our internet service at our office. We have a warehouse that we've converted into an office basically, and part of the warehouse still receives deliveries to this day. And right in our entrance it's no longer the case now, but was the main communication box. Like it was literally just an orange pillar that we painted orange because semi trucks kept hitting it. And so Mike was like, we got to get another internet line in here. So we had Verizon, so we wanted to get Comcast running from the other side of our road. And we're like, how do we balance these things? Because there was only one WAN port on the Best Buy router. So we just started Googling around for, what's a load balancing router? What can it do? And that led me to like another Linksys router that could have 2 incoming WANs. It did not do the trick. Like, it was just dropping connection anytime it would switch between the 2 service providers. So then I'm pretty sure it was Mike finding Peplink from like an eBay search or just something of like, hey, this is a cheap router. It looks like it's a little bit better than what we've got, but it was like a used router on sale. I think it was, I don't even know if it was the 280, a balanced 280, but that's what we ended up with. But yeah, that's, the first one we had was a 280, but yeah, that's kind of how we landed on finding just a better solution, was the fact that the internet was physically being taken out by delivery trucks.
That is funny. The balanced 380 was sorry, Michael.
Sorry. We also wanted to be able to duplicate our customers' environment so that we didn't have to. We were doing a lot of work out of state. So typically what would happen is our guys would go and meet with customers and get specs and figure out the environment, take a copy of it and bring it back here so we could work locally and keep travel costs down.
A big need is duplicating customer environments. So instead of like sending somebody off site, this is before everybody was working from home and whatnot. So it was, we had to bring the customer's information here, and we needed a much more reliable way to do that. So I could even replicate, their network on site. That was kind of a goal.
Yeah, because most of our customers don't have a sandbox for us to work in. So we would create our own sandbox here, do the work, and then move it to their environment when it was accepted.
Awesome. And so did you try outside of probably, I'm assuming open WRT or something, if you were doing something Linksys, but DDWRT, there you go. Did you try anything else, any other commercial products, or did you then find Peplink when that didn't work?
I mean, are we allowed to say names of other stuff?
Travis?
It's your story, yeah.
It's your story.
I tried the Cisco Meraki stuff. They sent me a couple like early demos when they started moving to Meraki, and or however you say it. I'm probably not saying it correctly because I've never used their stuff extensively, other than the one little trial. And like, the router was cool, and then I got a bill for it, and I was like, absolutely not. So,
That's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, I don't think I even brought it to Mike. I was like, I'll get fired if I show him this. So it was a case of we have to find something that is way more affordable. Hence the Google searches and the eBay ad that I mentioned earlier.
One of the things that I remember when you reached out to me, one of the things that I thought was really neat was that we were using the inbound DNS load balancing to basically bring inbound traffic between the Verizon and the Comcast. And for me, that was a really cool first example of that on a commercial environment. Did you have any challenges implementing when you were playing with like DDWRT or Cisco? And then, if you can remember, I know it's been a long time, back to the Peplink. Did you have any challenges that you faced when trying to get the systems up and running? And you could talk about all three, or just Peplink, or
the biggest challenge was the fact that we already were in VMware with all of our servers, from the systems that we were replicating, like Mike said, of all of our client systems. So I've got way more now, but maybe 10 or so VMs that I needed to probably more, but needed to not re-IP them, not change any of their network schemes around, because there was countless services and weird little intricacies that we were replicating. And my biggest concern at the time was, okay, it's all working under this, home router. How do I keep the network stable and not redo literally every server? Because that would have taken me. I'm the only IT guy here. In a software shop, I'm the only one that manages all the hardware. I didn't want to have just an enormous amount of just reprogramming to do. So that was the biggest concern and biggest challenge. And it was as easy as just assigning the untagged network to be what already existed. So it was a whole lot easier, because I mean, if I take a big step back, I kind of came into this whole challenge not as a network engineer. So I want to say that out front. Like, my background is not in network engineering or anything of the sort. And it was really nice to have just somebody walk through it with me, as well as finding a system that just actually made sense whenever I was looking at it. Like, it's extremely easy to understand behind the hood, because of In Control, to kind of jump into that a little bit.
Yeah, right.
I kind of, that might have been a roundabout, maybe wordy way to answer your question, but the biggest challenge was making sure that we didn't touch what was already there, and then have the ability to create new VLANs on top of that.
I like that. And then you kind of already mentioned In Control a little bit, but my next question was going to be, what features of Peplink made the deployment easier? So obviously, In Control being one of them, but.
And your guys' help, West Network help, actually. You guys sent somebody up. I don't know if he still works at the company. But you guys sent somebody up to help us through it, and he stayed up here for 2 days and walked us through getting rid of the Best Buy router and implementing our first Balance 280 that we ultimately installed.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's cool, Peter. I mean, it sounds like, I think my first Peplink story for sure, but I think yours too. Like, I was a user, right? That's how I found Peplink, was I needed something better to use, and I think that's extremely common for anybody with Peplink almost.
And when I think like SMB back in those days, like, I mean, I used to run Linksys with, and then we'd hack them with the DDWRT, and that was our SD-WAN. I mean, that was your load balancing, that was your capabilities. I mean, I'm sure if you queried everybody on the webinar, there's a lot of people that have used or at least played with WRT or DDWRT trying to build reliable networks. And so it's like, as we try to implement stability, enterprise scale at a small business price. And I love that it's like you got the demo of the Meraki and got the bill and you're just like, no. and over the last 15, 20 years that I've been doing this, I've had that happen a lot. I had an engineering firm from Texas call me and they say, hey, here's my renewal quote for SmartNet. If you can build me sell me some routers for less than the renewal quote, I'll just buy your product. And we were so cost effective that literally we deployed his entire network, switches, routers, APs, everything, for less than the renewal of Peplink, of Cisco. And so it was like the cost difference, but then being able to go back to Brian and the fact that we've been running this network for a decade. I mean, I get that a lot. It's how long, what's your lifespan? How long does the equipment last? And it's like a long time. It works for a long time.
Yeah, we only replaced our Balance 280s because we just wanted to have a better redundant system. Like, they were still running fine. It's just like, okay, these have been running for a while. We probably should think about replacing them. It was like, running your car past that, previously 3,000 miles up to 5,000, now 5,000 to 7. It's like, all right, we're hitting that mileage marker. Maybe we should think about changing this thing out. It probably would have been fine though. I mean, it was operating totally fine.
We have a company that started buying Peplinks. I've had a lot of them, but around 17 years ago. And they're still running 380s and manufacturing plants in like South America that they self-warranty. So it's like, it's crazy how well that works. And you did upgrade. And what did you upgrade to? Did you upgrade to the SDX? What did you upgrade to?
We have 2 Balance 580s.
Okay, so you went from the 380 to the 580. Okay.
280 to the 580.
No, 380. There was no such thing as a 280.
Okay.
So it was you went from the 380 to the 580. Okay. But that's that works. So we built out this network. We started stabilizing your infrastructure. I'm assuming, and I know over the course of the time you text me every once in a while, hey, WAN load balancing, and I believe you were one of the first customers to adopt our switches.
Really?
Right? Don't you have Peplink switches?
I bought it because we needed a switch that was managed. And you guys said that we have these. So I didn't know that we were one of the first ones.
You're probably, I'd say, the first, I would say first 10. You're one of the first early adopters of the switch. And you've been running those switches once again for years.
Still have the exact same ones. I've not replaced them.
Yeah. So you just said managed. I was going to ask you a question. Like, what led you to that switch decision there?
I wanted to separate out like an Internet of Things just for my printers up at the front office, because printers were sent from hell to make everybody miserable, and they were making me miserable. And I just needed to separate them out to just make it easy to troubleshoot them, really was what it was. So I wanted the ability to also separate out my server network hardwired from my office wall ports and create them on VLANs. And that was the easiest way to do it because it was all through In Control.
Yeah, it is one of the nice things about In Control, especially with our switches. You just create the VLAN, it adds it to the router, adds it to all the switches, and then you can, trunk those VLANs as needed. And so that's yeah, it was a neat for me though, because you're running, you built your 380 network, you kind of upgraded to the 580s, and you add the switches. And so it was, and then 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, when did we start this recent project? How long ago?
That was about, I mean, we've been working on that for a little while, but I think
we were bidding on the light.
This last summer was the first install though. Yeah, we've been building it with you guys for about well over a year. We'll say 2 years.
Let's just say 2 years, around a year and a half, let's say. But around a year and a half, you reached out to me again for a project, and I think it's such a cool project, and I know there's some security concerns around some of the stuff you say, so I'll let you fill the details. But can you talk about this project and what we did? Or can you talk about this project a little bit?
Yeah, Mike, do you want to?
Yeah, well, as Brian mentioned, our other company is B3 Software, and we have a product called Sight on Scene, which is a security tool for schools that allow first responders and teachers to get a bird's eye view of what's happening in the school during an emergency. It gives real-time access to the cameras to police officers, teachers, first responders, whoever. Well, we put that product in right after COVID was done. We started installing it in places. And we had a customer in West Virginia who also worked for Optum Healthcare. And we were just chatting one day, and he said, I got to have security for these. They have mobile, and their business is mobile medical units for veterans, and they travel all over the United States, and they didn't have any security on these vans. And we have been trying for about a year to get a job with them, and they were considering. Folks have seen these towers when you go to a mall or someplace that mobile. They bring them on site, and they have a tower, and it's got cameras on it and lights, but they were like $4,000 to $5,000 a month to rent. And I just said to them, I said, well, why don't we just put security on the vehicles? We have cameras, and we've got some folks where we can come up with a solution. I did not know that they don't have shore power. Everything's run off of generators. So we had to come up with a solution that would work when the generators are off. So we've worked with the folks at West to come up, and you can show some of those pictures if you want, Peter. We got to prove.
Yeah, I don't know if you got my message, but like 20 minutes before we started this, they told us it was okay to show and tell.
Okay. Well, while you're talking, I'll re-grab a couple of those photos,
especially the ones that you got. Those are really cool.
So we reached out to the folks at West, and I said to Brian, hey, why don't we just use the stuff we use here? And can we put that in a unit? And can we give them? I mean, previously these units, their telephony was a hotspot, so that's what they relied on. And we said, well, if we're going to do this, we might as well go state of the art. So there you can see a couple of the pictures of the Starlink with
Peplink mobility antennas.
Yeah, and solar, and we have batteries in there that run this for about a weekend to keep the cameras running all the time. And then we use our Sight on Scene product to be able to control the cameras. We're also in the process of putting panic buttons in these in case there's emergencies. So that's software that we're working on right now for this customer. So from the hardware side,
the hardware side, I mean, we're integrating Starlink with some mobility antennas into a HD4 from Peplink. that balances all the remote connectivity, and it is incredibly fast.
Yeah.
It was impressive how quick these things are.
So basically, you have an HD4 MBX 5G. So we have 4 5G modems, and on the roof of the vehicle we have 4 5G antennas, the mobility 40G antennas. And then we come in with Starlink cables. So we have a Starlink kind of comes out the back there. You can't see the ports on the back. So one of the ports goes to the Starlink, and then we have the other 2 ports that go to the solar. And this was actually just we literally duct taped the solar panels to the roof, just kind of like testing to see how many solar panels we needed to power this and charge the batteries. But the idea was the system runs completely off grid. So basically Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, it's got a generator. And then outside of that time frame, there is no generator, but we need the security cameras and the internet running. So we needed enough power to basically run overnight, allow it to be recharged in the morning. And then on the weekends from Friday at 5 p.m. until Monday morning, we need to make sure that it stays up and is reliable. And so we upgraded, I think we've done 5 trailers so far. And so we've upgraded 5 trailers now to this environment. And what's really cool too is that it's powering these anywhere between 6 and 8 cameras per trailer. Smaller trailers have less cameras, obviously. Larger trailers have more cameras. And so the idea here is that we have the cameras. We actually run those. We do the penetrations, seal it, run conduit along the roof, and then plug those into the PoE switch, going up into the MBX, and then we use Speed Fusion to aggregate that and provide that connection for the access to the NVR. And so that little box kind of
2 added benefits too. We're using
frozen again.
All right.
Yeah. It's this laptop. It's because it's a laptop because I'm running the camera on it too. Yeah.
2 added benefits that we found was that the first time Brian showed it to me, I said, "Are those GPS coordinates?" He goes, "Yeah,
this is cool.
This is cool." It's like, I said, "So we can actually see our vehicle going down the road, right?" He goes, "Yeah." So we were able to track the vehicle along the way.
Well, it was even cooler than that. We saw a map in there, and I think I was talking to one of your support guys, and I said, "Is there any way that we can get that information?" And you guys forwarded me the Peplink API, and you're like, "You can get literally anything out of this that you want." So, like, literally anything that you can see in control, we have access to. So we just took the little GPS tracker and we integrated it into our software. So now they know where their trailers are at all times without having to have any weird special networky admin-y type things,
And we can track it, and we track all that, and we're in the process of writing some software for him that basically is going to be a map of the United States. It's got pins all over the place where all the places are at, and then we'll be able to click it, and then we'll be able to see in real time the vehicles moving. It's already paid for itself once where there was an accident, and we had one of the values of having it be on battery is it's on, like you said, 24/7. So when these things are going down the road, if there's an accident, we have video from all the cameras. So someone ran into one of these, and it's
a rolling 360 dash cam.
Yeah, from all sides. So we had video for that. So that worked out. That worked out really well for that. So it was kind of cool. And we're going to use some of the features of the cameras to build geo fences around these. It was weird because we had been trying to get this job for about a year. And one day, to their misfortune, but to our fortune, someone had stolen a truck and backed up to one of these vehicles and was in the process of stealing it when one of the employees walked in and found it. So the next day, the contract was signed, and that's when we started chatting with Peter and those guys. It was supposed to be a quote unquote demo. We're going to do one as a demo, right, Peter? And then all of a sudden, they just start showing up.
Can you have one next month? Like, I guess, Peter, are you guys free? So
for a demo. It's like, guys, this was a theory that we came up with.
Yeah.
We need to. So basically, the theory became the production
real quick,
and we haven't had a problem with it. It works really well. As Brian said, these cameras are in the middle of nowhere, and the Starlink can get the signal. And we've actually had places where the Starlink wasn't up and it just switched. That was the nice thing. It switches right over to the,
They have no idea.
and they have no idea, right over to the cellular, and cameras keep working. Everything's the same. So
when you deploy these, I assume there's not like IT support needed, right? They're just, it's a turnkey experience anywhere they go then.
well, it's cool because Brian can get to the Peplink routers from here,
From my phone.
from his phone, if we have to.
Okay.
So if there's something that needs addressed, we can address it. And we were just chatting about our the panic buttons that we're going to be putting in these things. And I said to Brian, we don't have to do anything other than us sending it. And he goes, no, we can do it all from here.
Yeah.
So we're just going to send them out. They're going to get mounted, and we'll have a tool to configure them
Mhm.
and test them, and then off we go.
That's amazing. So how's, I mean, you kind of already hit it up, but just to make how's the project going? What's your next steps for that?
Well, our next steps is you guys are going to be in California with us doing one.
Yeah. Yeah, Blake gets to fly out, and he's actually texting me on Sunday. He's like, so, do you guys have flight stuff booked yet? I'm like, no, we're going to talk this week. So we'll figure that one out.
Yeah, we actually had one canceled this week because someone tried to take it under a 9-foot bridge and it crushed. But check this out, all the equipment. I mean, this thing hit so hard that it broke the hitch off the truck. It was actually that one that you showed in the picture up there.
Yeah.
Is sitting in the field.
Yeah, go back to the
Yeah.
sun.
That's the one that got crushed.
Yeah, that one actually doesn't.
Oh no.
It doesn't exist. But we were curious as to what the impact would be on our Peplink equipment, our batteries, and our cameras. And
They took it back to the trailer management company that's kind of like the other third party that just does the build out of the trailer. They powered the thing up, and he goes, hey, it's on. Can you see it? I'm like, oh, yeah, I can. It's right there. Okay, cool. We can see everything. And it was still working fine.
yeah, all the
So
equipment
That's
held.
amazing.
It took. We were nervous about the hit it took. We're like, man, it's not made to take that type of hit.
Yeah.
And I mean, think about it. It ripped the hitch off the truck.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a pretty hard hit.
that's a
Yeah,
hard
we
hit.
We do
all the
shock and
equipment-
vibration testing, but that's a lot more.
Yeah, that's all the equipment powered up, and everything worked.
Yeah.
As so that one's going out of service, and we're gonna basically take the equipment out of that for one in the future. They're gonna buy non-towables from
Yeah.
now on, because we do. That's the thing too, Peter. Every one of these is different, as you know. There's 5 or 6 different models of these things, so every install is basically unique.
Yeah, well, welcome to my life.
Right? Yeah.
I get there's people like what you know, I get asked a lot about like deploying different people to do installs, and you know, it's just every vehicle is different. It could be the same exact vehicle, and 10 times you're gonna have 10 different, like the wires run in a different direction. Whoever it is that just wired it up that day, that's how they decided to wire it. And so you're always adjusting to the slight nuances of when you're taking something that's taken up, like that's already built and deployed, and retrofitting it. That it does change the dynamic of being able to do that, because you can't just go, okay, hey, you measure 1 foot off and 6 inches in, drill a hole. You do that 5 times out of 10, you're going to hit something. And so it's like, you've got to make sure that you're thinking about, okay, how are we getting this deployed? Where's the equipment going? How is the equipment being installed? What's the, best access and path to run the wires, the electricity, get the batteries hooked up, run the solar panels down, have enough to be able to do that. And so I find that really, I mean, it's part of the excitement of the job, but also just, it's a lot of fun. I was doing a job yesterday in Miami for a mobile command vehicle, and they had this box on the roof. So, oh yeah, you just use the box, and they sent a kind of site survey they send us a picture of the box. Well, the box has this big, thick, black, like solar power thing going right in. It has nothing. It's nowhere near the IT closet. I was like, well, that's a great box, but it doesn't really do me any good. And so I had to completely change my plan of how I was going to do the install, because the box they showed me had nothing to do with the network equipment. And we run into that a lot, is you're just constantly adapting to different install scenarios. For for anybody that's maybe I saw that you tried Meraki but if you think about customer, like small businesses trying to create reliability, and it's one of the things I like about your story is you're a regular business. Like you're like Mike owns the place. You've got an employees and team. What would you say to someone looking for a solution and they go, no one ever gets fired by buying Cisco? I mean, you've been running Peplink for well over a decade. I mean, anything that you would suggest or say?
Well, because I didn't go with Cisco.
I can tell you that our network since Brian's taken it over has never been down. Never. I mean, it's been down because
Power.
Power.
Yeah, don't say the power took it out.
Power took it out, and we had someone hit a telephone pole and catch it on fire and burn our fiber. So that led to the backup diversity with Comcast. And then I went to Brian and said, we need a telephony switch for this because we want to load balance these. I don't want them just to sit there as a backup. If we're going to pay for it,
we might as well use
it. So there's times when, Fios will be out and we don't even know it.
Yeah.
It just switches over and might be a little bit slow. And Brian will say, Fios is out.
Yeah.
They've got an outage. And
we got no clue.
Yeah.
Next step is probably to put Starlink on the building, and then we would have no problem if anybody hit both poles on both sides of the street out, I mean, to speak into the small business part of it, I mean, we're still helping our neighbors. Our landlord is a construction company here that owns this building. They needed a solution as well. So I just put a Balance One over there a long time ago, and they've grown to, I don't know exactly what switch they have, but they went with a VoIP system as well through West actually. And they've got a couple Peplink switches there now, all Peplink access points. Our neighbor here in this physical building, I'm actually going over there after this call to finish configuring his VPN. I just put a little tiny B1 over there. And he loves it. He has no clue that anything's different on his network, except now I can manage it and I can control a couple things and help him out whenever his power goes down too. So it's helping us basically help our business friends, if you will, and to get better relationship with our neighbors and with our landlord. We've always tried to help them just because they've been good to us. So try to pay the rent early and be good tenants, but also we're their de facto IT group because we're a software company here, literally 300 feet away from their front door. And so they actually let us put a Peplink. I think it's still a Balance One, not a B1 over there. So I've got a site VPN over there that just does some offsite backups for me. So I've also got a B1 over at my father works for the company at his house because he was having internet problems and I was having to help him through his Verizon router. So I'm like, no, I'm putting a Peplink router there. Then I don't have to solve your VPN problem ever too, because you're just going to be at work when you're at home. And so that solved that too.
And you just talked about put one at my house.
Yeah, we're going to put one at his house too, because his internet sucks at his place.
That's awesome. I love those types of connections. And it is the VPN is so easy. I mean,
really
like with
cool, though, to me about all of these things is the cost. Like I really wanted to mention that when we're on this call. Like there are so many options out there for Peplink that are not cost prohibitive. It's extremely affordable to just like put a router at your boss's house and not have it be like a massive, got to write out a government grant to do it or something. It's like, all right, let's just do it.
Yeah, I love that you're using one of our most affordable models and you're using the MBX. And so, you're using stuff in between too. I mean, it seems like you're really finding a fit for every project, every location. And I'm guessing you can manage it all from the same place too.
Well, one of the other cool things that Brian built was a mobile SOS unit. Basically, it's a case.
It's like a nuclear football you carry around.
You can carry around, and we can demonstrate. We were going to these conferences, and they were hitting us up for like $1,000 to have internet for, a 3-day conference. Really, and we were like, "This is crazy to pay this." So Brian put together a case
with a B1 in there.
With a B1, and we have battery. We have Blue Eddy batteries that we use,
and we carry a portable Starlink with it too.
We carry a portable Starlink. We make sure that we get a place near the door, near a window, We run the Starlink out in the field in the pool, and we've got better connectivity than anyone at the conference. We got our own basically network.
Or you can run it just off of any
Yeah.
you know, any Ethernet connection, and it still works, and I can still access SOS like at a Starbucks if I had to.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Like
And SOS for anybody that's sight on scene. That's your software, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Just to make sure anybody watching,
80 some people. So sorry.
Yeah. So the first conference we went to, it paid for itself. We were on site for like 3 or 4 days and
saved $3,000.
Saved $3,000, and we just we have better performance. I mean, Brian puts a telescope and pull up with our cameras for sight unseen, and we can actually demo live in the conference hall, and you can actually see people walking through. You can follow them through the conference, and the cameras are super fast. And he doesn't like it because I look at the cameras when he's in the conference. I'm like, what's going on? Who's these people at our table?
Why are you still eating lunch?
Let's go. Talk to somebody.
Yeah, it's been very seamless to do any of these deployments too. You know, it's almost mindless at this point because I've been using it for over a decade, but I feel like it's very easy to figure out for somebody that might not understand networking fully too. So I feel like there's a a market there as well.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for sharing your story and talking about your product and kind of how Peplink has helped. I'm really excited to be able to talk to people that are using our products and kind of what I think is so neat about Peplink is, and I tell this all the time, but you don't have to be a crazy engineer to be able to deploy Peplink networks. You can use in control and you can push out VLANs and you can tag your trunk ports and you can set up a VPN just by going to in control and Speed Fusion and select the routers and create your VPN. And so it brings that, you get that enterprise level power, but you don't have to have a team of project managers to deploy a VLAN. And I did a project for a hospital down in South Florida, and I just remember walking into a meeting. I was just me and my little, my little West shirt. I got my little, West branded polo or whatever it is that I'm wearing, and I walk in. There's like 20 suits in the room, and I go, "Oh my gosh, I'm in the wrong meeting." And literally, it was like the project manager. Then there was the security manager. Then there was the project security manager. Then there was an infrastructure manager, and then the infrastructure security project manager. And I was like, we need 3 IP addresses. and they have get this whole team of people to assign 3 IP addresses and push that and configure it through the network. And I think about that when I'm pushing out Peplink, like when I'm designing Peplink networks, or I'm starting to use, how easy in control makes managing VLANs and setting up tunnels and creating firewall policies. And so I find that incredibly enjoyable to see how all of that works.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a handful of times when I've called in where I couldn't figure out how to make one change or something. I'll actually call your crew at West, and within like 5 minutes we've found the problem, or they've implemented a change. Like, oh, it's propagated. I'm like, oh yeah, yes it is. Very good. Yeah.
So
but yeah, I mean, it's extremely easy to figure out, extremely easy to manage, and we're going to keep using it because it's the most cost effective and most reliable system that I have yet to work in.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody that's attended. Travis, thank you. 2 years, 24th episode. So pretty excited about that. Brian and Michael, thank you for sharing your story and talking about Sight Unseen and your software. Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, we're good. I think
we're good.
Oh, okay. But thank you so much, Michael and Brian, for joining us for this. And yeah, thank you everybody.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks.
Yeah,
sharing
and
more stories to come.
Yes, join us next month for a pretty cool healthcare story. So we've got a healthcare story that is going to be a lot of fun, and so join us next month for that story, and we'll be launching that soon.
Cool. Thank you.
Have a nice one, Brian.
Take care.